Before you scroll away, before another video steals your attention, let me ask you something honestly. How does a man who had everything in the world still end up feeling completely empty inside? If you've ever wondered what really happened to Elvis Presley, not the legend, not the glittering jumpsuit, but the human being behind the crown, then stay with me. And if stories like this move your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because every like helps keep these real human stories alive. Elvis Presley was not born a king. He was born poor, in a small Mississippi house, into a family that struggled just to survive. From the very beginning, life taught him loss. His twin brother, Jesse, was stillborn, and that absence followed Elvis like a shadow. His mother, Gladys, wrapped all her love around him, almost as if she was trying to protect him from a world she knew could be cruel. Music became his escape. Gospel songs in church, blues drifting through the streets, country melodies on the radio, these sounds didn't just entertain Elvis, they saved him. They gave him an identity when the world had not yet decided who he should be. When fame came, it didn't knock gently. It exploded. The world saw Elvis as something new, dangerous, electric. His voice shook the walls of conservative America, his moves scandalized parents, and teenagers screamed like their hearts were on fire. But while the world celebrated the image, Elvis was slowly losing control of the man behind it. Every smile on stage hit exhaustion. Every applause pushed him further away from his true self. Fame demanded more shows, more movies, more perfection. There was no space left for Elvis the human, only Elvis the product. At first, success felt like validation. The poor boy had made it. He bought his mother a house, cars, anything she ever wanted. But when Gladys died, something inside Elvis broke beyond repair. She wasn't just his mother, she was his emotional anchor. Without her, fame stopped feeling like a reward and started feeling like a prison. The people around him didn't know how to help him heal, they only knew how to keep the machine running. Managers, handlers, friends, many of them depended on him financially, and slowly, without realizing it, Elvis became responsible for everyone's survival except his own. The pressure was relentless. The Colonel, his manager, controlled every move, every deal, every decision. Elvis trusted him blindly, and that trust cost him freedom. While other artists evolved, experimented, and rested, Elvis was locked into endless schedules. Hollywood turned him into a formula: safe movies, repeated plots, forgettable songs. The artist inside him was screaming, but the industry told him to smile and keep going. And he did, because saying no felt impossible. Loneliness became his constant companion. Surrounded by people, yet deeply alone. He couldn't go to a store, couldn't walk freely, couldn't trust easily. Every relationship felt unbalanced. Were they there for Elvis, or for the crown he wore? Love became complicated. His marriage to Priscilla started with passion and admiration but slowly drowned under fame, absence, and emotional distance. When it ended, it confirmed his deepest fear, that he was unlovable beyond the stage. To survive the pain, Elvis turned to pills. At first, they were prescribed to sleep, to wake up, to manage stress, to keep performing. Over time, they became a crutch, then a dependency, then a silent killer. No one stopped him. Some didn't want to, others were afraid to. When you're the king, people cheer instead of intervene. And so the man who once brought joy to millions was quietly destroying himself in private rooms, behind locked doors. Yet even in his darkest moments, Elvis never fully lost his soul. You could hear it when he sang gospel late at night. You could see it when he performed with raw emotion, tears barely hidden. He knew he was trapped. He knew fame had taken more than it gave. But he didn't know how to escape without disappointing everyone who depended on him. The crown was heavy, and taking it off felt like betrayal. In the end, Elvis didn't die because he lacked talent, love, or success. He died because the world loved the legend more than the man. Fame didn't just elevate him, it isolated him. It took a sensitive, gifted soul and demanded strength he never learned how to build. His story isn't just about music or stardom, it's a warning. A reminder that applause can be loud, but silence can be deadly. That mental health matters, even for those who seem invincible. Elvis Presley lost himself not because he was weak, but because he was human in a world that treated him like a god. And that's the tragedy. The inspiring part is this: his music still lives, his voice still heals, and his story still teaches us to protect the people behind the success. If this story touched you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because remembering Elvis the man, not just the king, is the least we can do before you even realize it. Before the screen dims or your finger moves away, pause for just a moment and ask yourself this: what happens when the world loves the crown but forgets the head that wears it? What really happened to Elvis Presley is not just a story of fame, but of a man slowly disappearing while millions watched him shine. If stories that reveal the truth behind legends matter to you, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because this story isn't just about Elvis, it's about what fame can do to anyone. Elvis Aaron Presley entered the world quietly, in a two-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi, surrounded by poverty and uncertainty. From the very first breath, loss shaped him. His twin brother Jesse Garon Presley was born still, leaving Elvis to grow up carrying a loneliness he could never explain. His mother, Gladys, became his entire universe. She loved him fiercely, almost desperately, as if she sensed how fragile his heart was. Elvis grew up shy, sensitive, and deeply emotional. Music became his refuge, his language, his safe place. Gospel hymns in church moved him to tears, blues songs taught him pain, and country music taught him storytelling. Long before the world knew his name, Elvis already felt everything too deeply. When success arrived, it didn't come slowly, it crashed into his life like a storm. One song, one voice, one movement of the hips, and the world changed forever. Elvis wasn't just famous, he was revolutionary. Teenagers found freedom in him, adults found fear, and the media found a sensation to exploit. But behind the screams and flashing lights, Elvis was still the same quiet boy who needed reassurance. Fame fed his insecurities instead of healing them. Every performance demanded more energy, more charisma, more perfection. There was no room to be human. The world didn't want Elvis the man, it wanted Elvis the myth. As the money poured in, so did expectations. Elvis bought homes, cars, gifts, trying to protect his family from the pain he had known. But the pressure never stopped. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, took control of his career completely. Elvis trusted him like a father figure, unaware that this trust would cost him creative freedom and personal growth. Parker kept Elvis working non-stop, pushing movies over music, safety over artistic evolution. Elvis wanted to grow, to explore deeper sounds, but he was trapped in contracts and obligations he barely understood. Then came the moment that shattered his emotional foundation, his mother's death. Gladys Presley wasn't just family, she was his emotional anchor. When she died, Elvis lost the only person who loved him without conditions. From that point on, something inside him never fully recovered. Grief turned into guilt, guilt into isolation. He blamed himself for not being there enough, for letting fame pull him away. The pain was unbearable, and the people around him didn't know how to help. Instead of slowing him down, they pushed him forward. Loneliness became his shadow. Despite being surrounded by people every day, Elvis lived in isolation. He couldn't trust easily. Every friendship felt uncertain. Every smile felt rehearsed. Fans adored him, but they didn't know him. Women loved the idea of him, not the fragile soul beneath the image. His marriage to Priscilla began with admiration and hope, but fame created distance. Elvis was often absent, physically and emotionally. The pressure, the travel, the expectations wore him down. When the marriage ended, it confirmed his deepest fear, that he was loved for what he represented, not who he truly was. To cope, Elvis turned to medication. At first, it was legal, prescribed by doctors who prioritized performance over health. Pills helped him sleep, wake up, calm down, and stay energized. Slowly, dependence replaced control. The people around him noticed but stayed silent. Some feared losing their jobs, others believed he was untouchable. When someone becomes a legend, intervention feels impossible. Elvis became a prisoner of routine in hotels, private rooms, late nights, endless shows. The crown he wore grew heavier every day. Despite everything, Elvis still had moments of brilliance. When he sang gospel, you could hear his soul crying and praying at the same time. When he performed live, especially in his later years, there was raw emotion in his voice, regret, longing, hope. He knew. Before you decide this is just another story you already know, pause for a moment and really listen, because what you think you know about Elvis Presley is only the surface. This is not the story of the jumpsuits, the screaming fans, or the gold records. This is the story of a man who slowly disappeared while the world applauded. If you feel stories that reveal the truth behind fame, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be remembered. Elvis Presley entered the world carrying silence where a brother should have been. His twin, Jesse, never took a breath, and though Elvis never spoke much about it, that loss lived inside him. He grew up sensitive, gentle, and deeply emotional in a world that rarely made space for such traits in men. His family struggled, money was scarce, and insecurity was constant. But music arrived like a lifeline. In church, Elvis felt something powerful move through him. Gospel songs didn't just sound beautiful to him, they felt alive. They gave him a sense of belonging and purpose long before fame ever did. As a teenager, Elvis was awkward and unsure, often feeling like an outsider. Music became the one place where he felt understood. He absorbed everything: blues, country, gospel, blending them into something the world had never heard before. When his voice finally reached the radio, it was like lightning striking dry ground. The reaction was instant and uncontrollable. Elvis wasn't just popular, he was transformative. He represented freedom, rebellion, and emotion in a society that feared all three. But while the public saw confidence, Elvis felt overwhelmed. Fame arrived too fast, too strong. He never had time to build emotional armor. The screaming crowds thrilled him, yet terrified him. He wanted love, not worship. He wanted connection, not control. But the machine around him didn't care about what he needed, it cared about what he produced. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, positioned himself as a protector, but slowly became a gatekeeper. Elvis trusted him completely, not realizing that this trust would lock him into a life he didn't fully choose. The schedule never stopped. Tours, movies, recordings, Elvis was always working. Hollywood turned him into a formula, stripping away his artistic depth. The films paid well, but they drained him creatively. Elvis wanted to evolve, to explore deeper music, but his voice was drowned out by contracts and obligations. Saying no felt impossible. Too many people depended on him. Too much money was involved. Elvis became responsible for everyone's livelihood, yet no one protected his well-being. The most devastating blow came when his mother, Gladys, died. She was the one person who loved him without expectation, without agenda. Her death shattered him. He felt guilty for being away, for letting fame pull him from her side. That grief never healed, it only buried itself deeper. From that moment on, Elvis searched for comfort everywhere and found it nowhere. The boy who once felt safe in his mother's presence now felt exposed to a world that demanded everything from him. Loneliness defined his life more than fame ever did. Surrounded by people, Elvis trusted very few. He questioned every intention, every smile. Fans adored him, but they didn't know him. Friends relied on him financially. Romance was complicated. His marriage to Priscilla began with hope, but fame created distance and imbalance. Elvis struggled to express vulnerability. He was expected to be strong, confident, untouchable. When the marriage ended, it confirmed what he feared most, that the real Elvis was not enough to keep anyone close. Medication slowly entered his life as a solution, not a problem. Doctors prescribed pills to help him sleep, wake up, relax, and perform. In an industry obsessed with productivity, this was normal. Over time, dependence replaced necessity. The pills numbed his pain, but also his spirit. His health declined, his body suffered, yet the shows continued. The people around him saw the warning signs, but silence was easier than confrontation. Elvis was the king who dares to tell a king to stop. Despite everything, Elvis never stopped caring. He gave generously, often recklessly. He wanted to help people, to ease suffering, perhaps because he knew pain so well. Late at night, when the crowds were gone, he returned to gospel music. Those songs grounded him. They were prayers disguised as melodies. In those moments, Elvis wasn't a legend, he was just a man searching for peace. As the years passed, the weight of fame became unbearable. The crown he wore crushed him slowly. He knew he was losing control, losing himself. But escaping felt impossible. His identity was no longer his own. The world demanded Elvis Presley, not Elvis the human being. And so he kept going, even when his body and soul begged him to stop. Elvis Presley didn't die because he lacked love. He died because the love he received was conditional, based on performance, image, and success. The world celebrated his rise but ignored his fall. His story is a painful reminder that fame magnifies everything: talent, joy, insecurity, and pain. Without protection, it can destroy even the brightest souls. Today, Elvis lives on through his music, his influence, and his legacy. But his greatest lesson is not in his success, it's in his struggle. He teaches us to look beyond appearances, to care for mental health, to protect the human behind the achievement. Because no crown, no applause, no fortune is worth losing yourself. If this story moved you, if it made you see Elvis differently, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because remembering the man behind the legend is how we make sure history doesn't repeat the same tragedy again.